6 o'clock on January the 11th. This is the Franklin Board of Public Works meeting. We'll do a quick roll call. Alderman Nelson.
Here.
Commissioner Porter.
Here.
Commissioner City Engineer Morrow.
Here.
Assistant City Engineer Steinlich.
Here.
I always get I'm just not comfortable with that. I don't know if I'm getting it right. Okay. Highway Superintendent Schrader.
Here.
Let the record show Commissioners Woznicki. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we're going to start with the reading and approval of the minutes from the December 14th meeting. Does anybody have any comments, questions, things to add to that?
To approve.
Is there a second to Commissioner Porter's motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Then we have a motion on the floor to approve as presented the minutes from the December 14th meeting. All of those in favor, aye. Negatives? Then that motion will pass, and we'll move on to the public comment period. Not hearing from anybody, we'll declare the public comment period closed at 6:04. Move on to new business, and we're going to start with item A, which is the revisions to the right-of-way permits. I remember when this came in, a particular subdivision on Rawson was asking to do some landscaping in the right of way of the city, and that's how this permit got originally started. And it's been a while, so I think it's a good time to reevaluate it.
Commissioner Speck, Alderman Nelson, can you see that? Commissioner Speck, Alderman Nelson, can you see that?
Yes, but we can't hear you.
Agreed.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Sound like Elvis, yes.
All right. So we've known for a while we needed to tweak our right-of-way permit. Occasionally we'll have the contractor, homeowner will hire somebody to, say, do a lateral hookup or something and dig a hole in the street and leave town, and the check bounces or something like that. And a huge deal. I mean, it's frustration, but little things here and there. We know we need to do that for a while. There's a contractor in town now. I'm not going to mention him by name, but pretty much everybody between here and Waukesha is reevaluating their right-of-way permits. Several of the faults of our existing issues, and honestly, it need to be updated anyway. So what I was hoping to do is start with, let's see, that's the permit. Section 220 is what we refer to as a right-of-way permit. So I'm going to propose an ordinance at Common Council, and I'd like this committee to take some time and talk about all the proposed changes and make a recommendation appropriately. So what I thought I'd do is walk through 222-4, and please stop me if you have any questions. Conversation is good. First thing I'm proposed to do is change the name of the section. Right now you can see it's called Streets, Openings, and Excavations. A lot of the work that happens in excavations. A lot of the work that happens in the right-of-way is not really digging in the street. In fact, it'd be tough to call them excavations. So, for example, a lot of geotech work is done. That may or may not have been caught if they didn't think of it. That may or may not have been caught if they didn't think of it. We've, I don't want to say stretched the definition of an excavation as, doing a drill or punching a hole in the ground. Or if, the trenchless technology is a big thing now. So what I want to do is I want to call it construct, maintain, or repair infrastructure public right away. And that would preclude someone if it were a private street or private property. So everyone okay with that change? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to leave the first part of it alone. I would like to split it up, and this is fashioned somewhat after Milwaukee County. They have two fees that they actually issue. One is a fee to do whatever you're doing, and then they have a refundable fee. So they have a non-refundable fee that costs you. You pay that and you're done with it. And the non-refundable fee is before you leave. We did call other communities, just so you know, and let me sidetrack here. There is I had staff do some research. Commissioner Speck, can you see where it says Oak Creek?
No, it's not. It's still the sample of the
Okay.
brochure.
Let me try another. Okay. So I had staff call some of the surrounding communities. Can you see that now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. In Oak Creek, they do have a road work permit. They require a bond, $1,500 bond. Permit, they require a bond, $1,500 bond. For culvert, homeowner requests they pay otherwise, time and material basis. One of the things that the current contractor in town, if we only charge $1,500, they just blow by that. So what I wanted to do is more of what the county does with their. What I wanted to do is more of what the county does with their situation, where if it's a larger project, you're going to pay a lot more, and we'll discuss those changes as we go through there. Muskego, they currently require a $2,500 road bond and a $150 permit and time and materials. Otherwise, a contractor can hire homeowner can hire a contractor. Muskego, I will tell you, they are in the process of gutting and redoing their road right-of-way permit, thanks to the same issue we're having. Greenfield, they just said 4 times the permit fee for on-report to have a cost sheet. They just don't do a lot of those culverts. Caledonia, road opening permit is what they call theirs. $500 refundable after 15 months, or $2,000 letter of credit is what they require to make sure that the thing was done correctly. Again, so for example, $500 or $2,000 is nothing and not enough to encourage them to come back and fix something. Raymond, they do have road bonds based on the project size and truck traffic. So that's what they do. So I wanted to share that, just let you know that we would not be alone to issue or require some sort of surety. Let me share my other screen again. So again, this is what Milwaukee County does. They have 2 permit fees. One fee is what they charge you, and the other is, if you will, a surety. So the non-refundable fee. So the non-refundable fee shall be collected to reimburse the city for costs associated in managing permit activities and for infrastructure that the city will need to replace. So the application fee, I've raised that from $50 to $100. You can help me. So what is that from $50 to $100? You can help me. So what year was this permit employed, John? What year? About what year?
I was trying to think of that, and I don't think any other member of the board was on it when I was here, when it was done.
So it's been at least 10 years, if not. So it's been at least 10 years, if not 4. So
15, the subdivision just to the west of where I'm at, maybe about 47th and Ross, and I think was where this came from. They asked to do some work. They wanted to put a monument for the subdivision and some landscaping there within the right of way of the city. That's where this came from, I believe.
So there's an application fee of $50 that just there's an application fee of $50 that just seemed really low to me. I mean, you can barely take the wife out for dinner and barely get that under $50. $50 if you think about what it costs our employees, time and materials. I mean, by the time our employee steps out the door to go to the, we've spent $50. We've spent $50, and if we have any kind of issue at all, $100 did not seem unreasonable. I think in 2022, that's just no rhyme or reason. I just set that from $50 to $100. The first foot to 200 feet in length, that's a flat fee. Again, same reason. And then the additional 10 cents per foot for any installed utilities. And basically, or not basically, but I state there the calculation of the utility length will be made based on the number of linear feet of utility main. If you were to do trenchless, so say you're a cable TV company and you want to, do a 300 feet, we're going to charge you for all 300 feet, but that's only 10 cents a foot. That's a fairly minimal. I did not bump the 10 cents per foot up, but I was tempted to, but I thought we're not really making money or losing money off of that, so I'll just leave that at 10 cents a foot. And then so the reason why things that the city has to install, I'm adding for every tree in the right-of-way to be replaced $400. So, for example, we like to plant but we do like to plant all of our trees in the right-of-way. So I want to be the one to replace it and maintain it. $400 is what we charge a developer. That includes the cost of the tree plus the cost of we insure it, if you will, forever and ever, and we'll replace it if it dies. So in this situation, it's already a tree. One could argue that maybe as often as we change this section, I'm okay with leaving it at $400. If we have to babysit a contractor of how he cuts it, takes it down, work around those kinds of things, I have that the same price as the developer.
I think 400 is a fair price.
I think it's very fair. So you can do less than that, but this is what we charge for developers. Although for the developers, we guarantee it, if you will, and we would here too. But we're replacing one. Other public infrastructure, lights, signs, culverts, etc., that will need to be replaced by the city at cost of labor and materials plus etc. That will need to be replaced by the city at cost of labor and materials plus 5%. So let's suppose they take out a stop sign or a speed limit sign or something like that. Depends on the cost. A culvert, we've had a lot of discussion internally about we probably aren't charging enough when we charge homeowners for culverts. But if someone and I try to leave this open enough so that it's hard to imagine every single thing that we could possibly do to clean up after somebody. But what we would do is we would charge time and materials and add 5%. Time and materials and add 5%. So then the part 2, the refundable permit fees shall be collected as a surety to encourage permittee to restore the right-of-way in as good or better condition. So I have $10. So keep in mind, this would include a homeowner that wants to have a utility hookup. They would have a $1,000, if you will, that they would have to give us a check for, and we would hold for them to make sure that everything got taken care of. Quite honestly, in the past, those are probably our biggest violation. Less than reputable plumbing contractor to go out and dig something and then just walks off and leaves a pretty nasty pothole for us to fix. So I think that is fair. The refundable permit shall be waived for the City of Franklin Utilities and Milwaukee County project. Offers us a break if we apply for a county permit, so I figured that would be fair to do that for them. This does not, however, include the schools and other not-for-profits or those kinds of things. I felt like that was a sufficient list, unless there's I felt like that was a sufficient list. Unless there's a suggestion, I alter that list.
Glenn, what about the district?
I guess I would ask MMSD ever cuts me any slack in fees? Ever cuts me any slack in fees?
I'd like to hope we do,
If you
but
could,
I'm not positive.
I guess if you could show me that the district cuts me a slack in fees, we typically don't ask for a permit from you. How often do you actually dig in the city? For a permit from you. How often do you actually dig in the city?
I'm actually more concerned from the pipe check program. So basically, you'd be taking your own money to offset some of that cost to help the residents that are going to be required to participate in the.
So-
As far as other district projects, you know, your fees are not very significant in the cost of the project. I was just trying to think of how that might impact the homeowners.
So-
yeah,
So let's talk about the pipe check program since we're getting ready to implement that. MMSD would not actually be applying for the permit, right?
No, it would be our approved contractors, but that cost is going to be carried through onto homeowners. And one thing that would keep our contractors on the hook with you guys is that if meet your requirements, there will no longer be an approved contractor after their second warning.
Is it fair? How about this? How about if I say, at the end of that sentence, I say, City of Franklin, Franklin Utilities, and Milwaukee County projects, or their, I don't want to say representative, but basically someone's doing work for them. So,
Approved contractor?
No, I get where you're going, Glenn.
so in essence, we could say that the contractor doing the pipe check program is a sub, if you will, of Franklin. Pipe check program is a sub, if you will, of Franklin Utilities.
Yeah.
What do you think the
I
program?
think that would get you around that situation. I'm just thinking, I said it already. Yeah, I think that would get you around that situation. I'm not sure what the wording is, but I think you're close. Basically, it's that concept of a contractor representing the benefits. I've seen that language before, and now I can't think of it. The interests of one of the city utilities, or one of the city utilities, or one of the.
Do you like that language or contract
How about
representative?
contractor provider thereof?
Yeah.
I think there's an E. Is there an E on thereof or not? THERE of? I don't know. You're asking an engineer to spell.
Works for me. So Milwaukee County or contract provider thereof. So Milwaukee County, that makes sense. So Milwaukee County could hire, Glenn Excavating to do a project for them. We wouldn't charge Glenn Excavating for the work they're doing for the county. Okay? If you could show me that MMSD provides us a break, if you will, on permits, so forth, I'll be more than happy to add you to the list.
Okay, I'll ask around tomorrow. But like I said, that was the least of my concern.
Are you guys okay with me not adding the school district? I thought maybe that might be one that,
Well, how close are they controlled? I mean, we just got done with a large project within the last couple of years. And how interactive were you with the construction at the high school, for instance, and all of the work that was done there, especially along the roadside?
talking about the roundabout?
Yeah, the roundabouts and things like that.
Well, they were an affected property owner like anybody else.
Well, I was actually talking about the, I guess it's been a few, well, I was actually talking about the, I guess it's been a few years now, but what I can think of two recent ones. The two most recent ones were the building of the new Forest Home. I don't know if they did anything to the roadway.
Forest Park.
New Forest Home. I don't know if they did anything to the roadway.
Forest Park Middle School.
Forest Park Middle School, or the
really. No.
or at the high school where they
We-
did the add-ons over there. Did they?
So
my
we-
question is, how often do they get involved with the roadway?
We make them, this is for the right-of-way, so we made that way. So we made them put sidewalks in front of their places. To be truthful, it took a lot of teeth pulling to get them to do things right. Because, and they were as frustrated with their contractors as we were. But I guess I would, if you feel otherwise, I'll add them to the list.
I think that's my thinking on this right now is to leave them off the list, and if when this goes to the council, maybe they would like to discuss that question. John, go ahead, Alderman. Go ahead, Alderman.
You see my little hand that's up or not?
I do, but I wasn't looking in that direction.
Oh, I got you. I'm not sure. All right, I'll take it down. Yeah, I agree with you at this point. I'd like to see the schools be kept off of it. And I also like to also thank Glenn for to keep the schools off.
It's good to know.
John?
Yes, Commissioner Porter.
Yeah, I also agree with keeping them off the list, and by keeping them off the list, it may give them a little teeth to go against their contractors for not fulfilling their obligation.
Yeah, I would say so.
So, if you recall, I asked for the refundable fees to be at least $1,000. And keep in mind, if they do it and it's a very quick and easy, we can tell if there's not going to be any settlement, if we can return that right away. But I have a $10,000 threshold, and I set this in just because that's where I felt like it ought to be. But again, I'm open to suggestions. I felt like anything less than $10,000 should be a cash or a check. Anything over the $10,000, I would be willing to go through the effort to do some sort of, bond or letter of credit or something like that we have to track. A lot of companies will have all you have to do is call their insurance agent, and insurance agent says, yeah, here's a letter of credit or not a letter of credit, but a surety bond that says you're good for $5 million or whatever the number is. Bond that says you're good for $5 million or whatever the number is. But what do you think about that threshold of $10,000? Anything below that, I want to see some cash in our bank. Anything over that, I'll go through the effort to do a letter of credit and keep track that. Because it is difficult to cash in a letter of credit, track that. Because it is difficult to cash in a letter of credit or a bond.
My thought on $10,000 is you're talking about a project that's $100,000 at 10%. And if you're at that type of a number for whatever project you're working on, I don't know how many projects would get larger than that.
I can name one that's happening right now.
Okay, there one.
Yeah, very few. And keep in mind, these are projects in the right of way.
Yeah, for most of them that we're talking about, I don't think would, when we let them come back, like you said, if it gets to that extent, if it's a $500,000 job, then you have to deal with it
Back
differently.
to your example of the Forest Park Middle School, although there was a several $1 million project, it was very, very minimal dollars in the right of way.
Okay.
Example would have been that 19 acres on the corner of North Cape and St. Martin's. When they wanted to develop that, they needed to pull water in was part of the project. Now that would fall under this particular ordinance, is that correct?
If they're working the right of way, yes.
Because I believe it was supposed to come down through the right-of-way, and it would, to restore the right-of-way as it was prior to. So, yeah, that would be another, and that was an expensive project if that had ever gone through.
If that had gone through, absolutely. Okay. I think I'm comfortable with the $10,000 number. I appreciate the fact that you put. I appreciate the fact that you put a value there, but just thinking about it, that's a $100,000 project, and I think that kind of.
Would you like to go to a 5,000?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
All right.
I don't think so. That's not. That's
All right.
I don't think so. That's. Anybody else have a comment on the 5,000? I'm comfortable with 10.
I cannot imagine any homeowner having that large of a project in the right of way.
That's my point.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of comments, if I may.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Ms. Specht.
Would there be any consideration that you'd like to defer whether the project is for a homeowner and the expectations versus for a business? Because one of your options, if I heard you right, was to what would happen if that check would bounce? Then you wouldn't have anything to cover that cost. And if you look at it by expectations for a residential property versus maybe a business, maybe in altering your values a little bit there to assure that you have plenty of money to do any repairs.
So to answer that, I did think about that. I'm not so sure that I probably cleared this with the city, or I know I did not clear this with the city attorney, but my thought was if someone wrote a bad check, we have other execution than this issue.
Okay.
Commissioner Porter.
Thank you. Do you know if the city has a trust account similar to what a lot of attorneys have? When you give them a check, they deposit it into their trust account to hold it. And then at the end of whatever obligation, to hold it. And then at the end of whatever obligation you have, they'll issue you a refund plus interest for whatever that is. So in other words, you wouldn't have a live check sitting in somebody's drawer someplace. You'd take the check,
No, Yeah, I fully intend to cash the check. No, we'll take it. Yeah, I fully intend to cash the check. No, we'll take it. They'll have to. The finance department will have to receive it and receipt it.
So it would get cashed. It would be deposited and earmarked in an account, and then.
Yeah, I would not. I do not envision that we would pay them interest on that account.
I was just going to ask.
I do not envision that we would pay them interest on that account.
I was just going to ask. That's the one thing that I think I'm thinking that anything, if it's a 3-month thing and it gets done, fine. But is there a time frame on the what's the situation there?
We do talk that we talked that I'll hold this no more than a year. So and that's intended for people that say tear up the roadway and we're concerned about settling. We want to make sure it gets to the wintertime cycle. So, for example, if someone were to excavate probably April or May, we could turn that loose. If someone, however, did not dig until February, then we get through the cycle, and by the next February we'd have to release it.
Okay.
It did occur to me that what happens if exactly $10,000? So I should say refundable fee equal to or in excess of $10,000. So $9,999, they got to give us a check, but as soon as it hits the $10,000 mark, it can go to a letter of credit.
$1,000 if you put a limit on it.
Because it's still 10% of the project cost. So, as an example, if you were digging a pipeline from Waukesha to here, go all the way down Ryan Road, all the way down 60th Street, they're spending way more than $100,000 worth of work in the right-of-way.
Gotcha. Confused you. I thought you had made a comment earlier, but you actually didn't. In saying that you were putting a maximum limit of $10,000. That's not what you were saying, and
that's the maximum I would expect you to put in my bank account.
Thank you. And that's. I'm just saying.
If it's more than $10,000 credit.
Okay.
Did I answer your question, Commissioner Speck?
Yes, thank you.
So E, if permittee does not restore the right-of-way in as good or better condition, the city shall notify the permittee. So I go through a couple steps here. We shall notify the permittee. So I go through a couple steps here. First of all, we notify the permittee in writing of the deficiencies, and we may self-perform the repairs or hire others to make repairs from the collected fees or surety. Such notice shall be issued within 1 year after permittee notifies cities that work is complete. So shall be issued within 1 year after permittee notifies cities that work is complete. So once they say, I'm done, and again, would particularly pertain to, they dug up part of our road. We want to make sure that settles fine. That's an issue. If it's a very simple, they did something in the grass, that's an issue. If it's a very simple, they did something in the grass outside of pavement, we could release that right away, or we can we'll have to use our judgment call when it's appropriate to issue a letter and say it needs to be done, and we'll come and do it. So here's E, refund as soon as the Director of Public Works deems appropriate, but not to exceed 1 year after permittee notifies the city that the work is complete.
So, let me get this back to being one question that Commissioner Porter brought up. Somebody could give you, range, and you haven't held it into an account. You hold it for the length of the project. Let's say that's 4 months on something a little larger. And then you hold it for another full year after that. So now we're talking 16. You get the check. You get a check. You
Right.
Cash it. You put it into
An account.
an account.
Yes.
You get that check at the time of permit.
Right.
Okay. The project gets completed. It takes 4 months to complete. Then, according to this, you complete.
Correct.
So now we're talking 16 months, and you're going to give that back to them interest-free. Now, with the city of Franklin, if I did not pay my taxes for a year, would they let me pay my taxes interest-free?
No, we would charge you.
So I think that's a deficiency.
Okay.
It's because of the length of time and the amount.
Well, so keep it. You said $15,000. So
I just threw a number out
yeah.
there.
So keep in mind, $10,000. You just have to. You can keep it in your own account, and there's a letter of credit.
Okay.
That can be
Say it's $10,000.
$10,000. So what is?
I don't know what the number would be. I'm just saying that I think that
Is that $400?
I think that you are taking advantage of whoever, whether it's a citizen who is permitting this, or whether it's their contractor permitting this.
So
The city is, like I said, if somebody didn't pay your taxes for a year, you're going to charge me interest for that. So I don't see why the city doesn't reciprocate in this situation. The city doesn't reciprocate in this situation.
So how about this? So as an incentive for the city to return this as soon as possible, maybe let me add a F that says, let me move Becky around here. That says, let me move Becky around here. So F would be if fees are not refunded within 60 days of notification how did I word that?
Of completion?
From the permittee
Okay.
of the city shall issue the refundable fee due to the applicant with, we do 6% interest on other issues. Granted, that's a higher place now.
That's a
that-
higher place. I think
But-
that's something that's going to go in front of the council, and they'll kind of clarify that one for us.
We
But
can do 4%? I mean, again, that. number
Alderman
goes up,
Nelson,
yeah.
do you have a thought on that?
My thought is to keep it at 6%.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep in mind,
I like the way you have that set up there
With
because you get the
60
60-day thing on there.
from the 60-day.
Because you get the 60-day thing on there. So,
From the 60-day date.
yep.
So if I give it to them on day 65, I only owe them 5 days worth of interest.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I mean, at least you're, you know, I think that's fair. I think you're, you know, I think that's fair. I think that's, I don't know if it's fair, but I think that's at least you're dealing with it.
And with the council's blessing, I'm going to wordsmith this a little bit after. I won't do it here tonight, but. Okay.
Aren't we going to run into this then almost every?
Okay.
Aren't we going to run into this then almost every time?
No, so most times we're just going to give it back right away because they're the simple things. We saw it was filled with slurry. You guys are completely okay the way it was done. Or maybe it's even out of the right of way. You guys are completely okay the way it was done. Or maybe it's even out of the right of way. It's not a big deal. Let's release it and get it off our books. Within 60 days, boom, it won't cost us any interest.
But if it's in the road, I thought our hope was to get through a winter,
Okay.
freeze
Well,
thaw.
Well,
This is
and
gonna
this
be-
covers them for that road situation. If it,
Thoughts.
well,
This is
and
gonna
this
be-
covers them for that road situation. If it's in the right of way that's not on the road itself, you know, then okay, that's one thing. If it's something that's going across the road, then we're saying, yeah, it's going to take us. We want to make sure we get through a winter before we refund the money. And in that case, if it's 6 months from now, we will do some interest on that situation. Not all of these things are going to involve tearing up the roadway.
Oh, true. I'm just worried about the road as well.
Exactly. And so,
Because we got so many sinkholes out there now because of
Yep.
this.
Right.
At least interest without interest?
Well,
I'm just thinking-
I guess, let me ask the question is if we truly are worried about our road and it truly is something that goes underneath the road, we're losing money on the permit.
yeah, absolutely.
Because if they dig under the roadway, we're automatically losing money on our permit process.
Commissioner Porter, did you have a comment? Okay.
I have a comment if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Just proposed. I'm not a fan of this providing interest on a fee to assure quality work. If you were to look at any bonding, if you were to, you have a flat fee for just having the bond convenient for a homeowner so they don't need to go through that process, or a small business who is trying to do work. And if we're already concerned about the conditions of our roads and not having enough money to pay to get them fixed accurately, and now we're gonna be losing money on every permit, why?
I will not support it if it's not, yeah, I will not support it if that's not in there. Bottom line.
Okay. So how would we write our permit to guarantee that the city does not lose money?
I don't know the way. I don't know how you do that. Cost of such an event would be, but, okay, so let me ask it this way. Okay, we go through a winter, we have potholes, we have whatever it is that needs to be fixed up. What happens if the fix is more than the surety that was given?
Well, we'll cover that later. No, I guess we won't.
As of right now, we eat the cost, the city does.
Yeah, as of right now, we automatically been eating the cost.
Now that I don't think is right. I think that if there's an issue that to put the road back to its normal situation is less than the amount of surety, back to its normal situation is less than the amount of surety, and we're left to do it, then I think I have a problem with that.
I believe we cover that later. I believe we cover that later if they violate.
So therefore, if that's in place, then we actually don't necessarily lose money if we have, we actually don't necessarily lose money if we have, if you have that covered later, if you have that covered in here.
Tell you what, hold that thought and we'll circle back if you don't think that's addressed.
Okay.
Okay.
Glenn, I did have one other comment when I raised my hand. If I'm understanding you correctly, I raised my hand. If I'm understanding you correctly, you're not giving the contractor any notification to provide an opportunity for them at their cost to repair and correct or rectify a situation that is identified by the city. You're instantly having the city identified by the city. You're instantly having the city take action. Is that the correct understanding?
So I thought I covered that.
I think you did have something in here that you may start.
The city was going to take action as soon as they identified an issue if the contractor informed them they were done with the work. If you identify an issue after
So-
the contractor...
Yeah,
So,
I
Commissioner, if you look at E, if permittee does not restore the right-of-way in as good or better condition, the city shall notify the permittee in writing of the deficiencies and may self-perform the repairs or hire, okay.
I get corrective action.
yeah,
Okay.
I like
So-
that.
So notify, so maybe put period here.
Put a period here, and then like Commissioner said,
The
if
permittee,
does not take corrective action, then the repairs.
shall have the ability. The situation,
And I would upcharge another...
I would say deficiencies, remedy the deficiencies, since you've used that term in there previously.
okay.
And add, this is, I think, where, you could cover some of that cost.
If repairs or remedies are not completed, the city may self-perform. So,
Then the second part of that question is, if the cost of those repairs is greater than the surety, what is the remedy for that?
by deficiencies, such notice shall be issued within 1 year after the permittee notifies the city that work is complete. The permittee shall have the ability to remedy the deficiencies within 30 days?
Yeah,
Within 30 days?
yeah.
If suitable remedies are not completed, the city may self-perform repairs or hire others to make repairs to neglected entities.
Would you consider paying yourself for having to manage that additional workload?
So
The time and materials plus a percentage?
for time and materials plus go even 10% on this one, because generally these situations that takes a lot of time.
Yep.
10%. Does that language work for everyone?
Thank you, Glenn.
So get that handled at a later time if the
Yeah,
surety
we'll-
doesn't cover. Okay,
We'll come back. Okay.
we'll come back to it then. Thank you.
So, this is one, I noticed this because we actually, on our old permits, if you look at them, had a comment about my belief, my teaching, I've been drilled in my head, me as the engineer, me as the inspector, me as somebody else, I don't comment on your worksite safety. That's your issue. So this spells out the permittee is fully responsible for worker and worksite safety. Any comments, representatives shall not place responsibility on city for safety. Now, later I talk about safety of the traveling public, but as far as this is for,
This
if you
is
will,
for the
OSHA
worker and
issues.
work site. Yeah.
Yes. So the
Yeah,
first,
you don't, yeah, I'm okay with that because what you're telling them is that, city doesn't have that response. I agree with that.
So I've always been taught that if I, as the engineer, go out and say, hey, that's not safe, and they, whatever, and next time I don't say, hey, that's not safe, and something falls on, I took liability since I don't say, hey, that's not safe, and something falls on, I took liability since I was taking that role to begin with, where I told them something wasn't safe. So I want to make sure they understand that's not the city's responsibility. So. Stop work order. So for safety reasons to the traveling or general public, stop work order. So for safety reasons to the traveling or general public, the city may issue a verbal stop work order. Means I can stop them right then. The stop work order will be in effect immediately from the verbal command until satisfactory traffic control and pedestrian barricades are in place. Stop work order does not move any liability from the permittee to the city. To protect receiving waters from erosion and sediment before leaving work site, the city may issue a verbal stop work order. Same situation here. Stop work order will be in effect immediately from the verbal command until satisfactory erosion, language from before. Permittee will be responsible for any cleanup and damage caused to other properties as a result of inadequate and sediment control methods. So we just went through an MS4 inspection by DNR, and I think that it was their desire that we have more teeth in. And then, so we go from the verbal to a citation. So city may issue a municipal citation to any person for failure to comply with the stipulations set forth in a Franklin permit to construct, maintain, or repair infrastructure within public right-of-way. Basically, we can find them. So this I think answers your question. Anything in this permit that they violate, we have the ability to issue a citation. The next step after
Question. In that provision, Chapter 1 General Provisions 1.9, structure put together about what that fee is?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if it's a Class A or Class B, infraction, and that's where they set forth all the charges for various, whatever misdemeanor, Class, D misdemeanor, whatever, however it's worded, versus in pretty much every place else in the code that always throws you back to that chapter and verse.
Okay, so that would be hopefully be our recovery mechanism.
Yeah, so that would be a citation. To elevate it, so the permit to be revoked. After issuance of a citation, or Public Works or his designee may hand deliver or email a written notice to the permittee as a final warning that the permittee is failing to comply with the stipulations in the issued permit. So again, this is after citations really didn't work. The notice will designate a time frame required for full compliance. Failure of the permit is a permit subject to revocation and forfeiture of all non-refundable and refundable permit fees. So if you gave us an $8,000 check, if we have to go this far, that's our money. And then the final hammer, permittees who have a permit revoked to construct, maintain, or repair infrastructure within public right-of-way for 5 years from the date of revocation. So I think that's it.
That's your teeth.
Anything in this permit that they don't comply with, that's the process we go through. We go through, verbal stop work orders if we need to. Then we can issue a citation if that didn't work, and then we can revoke their permit beyond that.
Is a citation written by the police department? Who writes the citation?
No, I would write the citation.
You write the
for that.
citation.
The rest of these, for the most part, I just renumbered them to accommodate the new ones. Completion of work, I just renumbered them to accommodate the new ones. completion of work. This is, if you look at formerly K, now O, we would charge $25 a day if they left the ditch open for more than 3 days. Again, $25 seems like nothing. More than 3 days. Again, $25 seems like nothing. I'd like to at least bump it up to $100 a day. Quite honestly, this is probably going to be more of your homeowner kinds of issues. Where a homeowner, they get a contractor that, opens it up and walks away, for whatever reason doesn't get it done right away, or finds out he bit off more than he could chew, or those kinds of issues. So, but that is the $100. Again, I don't have a rhyme or reason as to why I picked 100, other than the fact $25 just seemed very low. And then I said this amount may be deducted from the refundable fees. So that's the rest of them. So that is the changes to the municipal code. Any other comments that we didn't cover that you want to make comments about?
No, I think it's, so I think the process is good to do that.
Now there's the second part of that is the actual permit.
Yes.
I included in your packet, the current permit. It doesn't look like any other city permit that we have. It's outdated. Looks like an engineering technician put together in 1990. That's probably because a engineering technician put together in 1990. So I borrowed a lot. I don't really know what to point out on this. As far as the currently, it's really confusing. It's really confusing who the actual permittee is in our permit process. So in this one, you have to tell us who the facility owner and utility company is, and who the applicant or contractor is. I've got it set up so that they fill out this first page, or contractor is. I've got it set up so that they fill out this first page, location of work, description of infrastructure, method of installation, and then I try to add some, if you will, without making them read our entire code, give them enough clues as to what they're agreeing to or telling us. So are the plans provided? Yes or no. Basically, I'm saying I need the plans. Proof of insurance provided. This talks about what the insurance requirements are. Erosion sediment control details, and that they are fully responsible. It'd be hard for them. The fact that they check yes, they know that they can't act surprised when we enforce it. Traffic control details included. If they don't, we'll send it back and say, give us traffic control details. If there are, then they understand what they're required to do. This is a big issue we're having currently with our current contractor. People are saying that they're not being notified. They weren't notified and so forth. So, provide us a list of everyone needs to be notified at least 24 hours before such work is to start. Again, we're looking just for the cost of the project in the right-of-way. Estimated start date, estimated ending date, and we may hold it if we don't believe that they're going to, do it quickly. So all work shall be complete without unnecessary delay. Do it quickly. So all work shall be complete without unnecessary delay. So they're doing a small pothole, if you will. We don't want it opened up for 3 months. That's the first page. Everything that they do is on the first page.
Okay, I have
Sure.
one little question on this one at the very top. I have
Sure.
one little question on this one at the very top. You have facility owner / utility company. I'm not, and then you have applicant contractor. So what you're saying is that this goes from the perception that company A is hiring company B to do this work for them, and so the company B is the applicant.
So an example would be We Energies would be the facility owner,
Okay,
because it's often We Energies would be the facility owner.
okay,
because it's often, so Glenn Backhoe Inc. may not tell me that they're working for We Energies or, John Cable TV. So in the future, I find this cable, it's not been located or whatever. 10 years, find this cable, it's not been located or whatever. 10 years from now, you're not going to go after Glenn Backhoe Company. You're going to go after John.
Gotcha.
You need to know who owns the facility.
I got you.
Yeah.
So it is possible that if this is a homeowner, the homeowner may be
The facility owner.
the facility owner. He may also be
The facility owner.
maybe the facility owner. He may also, if the homeowner is doing his own work, is he also then the applicant?
Assuming he can get the insurance to do everything, sure.
Okay. Just asking.
Yep. And it could be like, We Energies would be the company and the contract. All right. Second page, this is where a calculation of permit fees, and I borrowed a lot from the Milwaukee County. I like the fact that they actually say, here's how we calculate the cost of everything. So application fees, $100, length of project, so how many, they use this WisDOT estimation. So if they're replacing, so many cubic feet of concrete curb or something like that, that's how they would estimate that. So we need to figure out if we want to have an annual. It's a nice program. Actually, Tyler maybe could tell us if it's a nice program. I've never actually used it, but you are able to go and figure out the cost of, if we were to have to fix what's left in the right of way, what would it cost us to do so? So that by doing all that, we can come up with a non-refundable permit fee. Estimated cost of the project in the right of way. This probably comes from them. We'll have to do enough work to say if it looks reasonable, and then we add 10%, $1,000 minimum, refundable permit fee, total fee to collect. This really just shows everyone how we came up with our number. We sign it here. The surety amount. So we tell about how we got their surety. Did we waive it? If they're a county or someone, cash or check, letter of credit. We, reference the date, the institution, and the bond. The applicant becomes a permittee. A lot of these standard stipulations for all projects.
Sure.
Much of this was borrowed from our last one, although we've tweaked it. Permitting authorities, the City of Franklin, Department of Public Works. Franklin Department of Public Works. I think this was oddly worded, so I think this came from somewhere once upon a time, but it works for me. I didn't have any reason to change it. Accomplishment of the permitted work of any part shall be on behalf of the permittee and accomplishment of the permitted work of any part shall be on behalf of the permittee and shall bind such permittee to abide by this permit as conditions. Permits based on the attached plans. Permittee agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the city, its employees, and so forth. Permittee agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the city, its employees, and so forth. Responsibility applies both when the site is attended and during off hours, any holiday, and the hours of night when the site is unattended. It's would probably be there anyway, but it's good to spell that out. Just to remind people they can't say that, so they weren't responsible. Call before you dig. Let them know that they are responsible to call Diggers Hotline. They're responsible to locate. And this is from the old permit within 3 feet of the right-of-way limits, unless specific dimensions are shown on the attached plans. If you want to talk about more. The responsibility of the permittee to determine the location of, protect, and cause basically everything else. So, if they damage a mailbox or a light pole or something like that, it's their responsibility to fix. The facility shall, if necessary, be altered at the or maintenance of the right-of-way as may be hereafter be ordered. Entire cost of constructing and maintaining permitted facility should be the obligation of permittee unless a contract for such costs have been executed. Unless otherwise stipulated, permittee shall notify the city at least 3 business days in advance of said operations. 3 business days in advance of said operations. Copy this approval along with any plans and specs shall be available at the job site. All work approved by the permit shall be completed in accordance with our standard specs. Permittee and representatives are fully liable. Permittee and representatives are fully liable for worker and worksite safety. This goes back to the front page. All verbal or written observation, this came from the municipal code. So I did try to make sure that everything we have in the code shows up here if appropriate. So I did try to make sure that everything we have in the code shows up here if appropriate. So we're not taking responsibility for their safety. This talks about the safety to the traveling public. No portion of the traveling roadway or sidewalk pathway may be public. No portion of the traveling roadway or sidewalk pathway may be closed to traffic without specific, maybe I should underline specific, prior permission from the Director of Public Works. Such permission, if granted, will be stipulated in the special stipulations section. So if you notice, I have a general section. So if you notice, I have a general standard stipulations, and then later I have special stipulations. That's per project. So let me go back. Where was I? So this basically talks about, traffic control. Failure to comply with traffic control measures shall be grounds for an immediate stop work order, and that's per our code changes. This discusses wintertime operations, sites from November 21st. Why 21st? Is it? To March 15th. I'm trying to remember why I picked 21st. Let's do that. November 15th. To March 15th. Accommodations for snowplow operations. DPW superintendent may be contacted for site-specific adequacy. We've had some issues where, for example, on 60th Street, barrels were, you couldn't hardly get around them with a snowplow. So you could get a car past it, but not snowplow. And we don't need to be having our snow guys jump out moving barrels just tours must be approved by Public Works and or the Board of Public Works. When a detour is allowed, permittees shall notify local newspapers, schools, fire, police, dispatches in sufficient notice of the work being started. I couldn't think of anybody else to put on that list. Street intersections shall be maintained. Notifications to affected residents and traveling public are the responsibility of the permittee, and their documentation notification shall be submitted to the city. So it's their responsibility to notify somebody if they're going to close their driveway, and they need to show me how they notified them and give me documentation. All disturbed satisfaction of the city. And put a comma there. No tree or shrub shall be cut, trimmed, or damaged to facilitate the installation or maintenance of the permitted facility except as authorized by the city. Any brush, tree, or waste materials resulting from the permitted work shall be removed from right-of-way. Instead of May. Upon completion of the work, permittee shall file a written notice to the City of Franklin Public Works along with a record drawing of the completed work. That's what we do now. Final approval and release shall not be granted until the City of Franklin grants approval. Number 19, permittee shall assure that the proper erosion control measures are implemented. Basically parrots the language in the ordinance. Failure to comply, immediate stop work order. Permittee does not transfer any land nor give, grant, or permittee does not transfer any land nor give, grant, or convey any land right, inland, or nor easement. Unless specifically authorized, no storage equipment, vehicles, or any materials allowed in the right-of-way after working hours. Failure to right-of-way after working hours. Failure to satisfactory complete restoration within 1 year will be cause for forfeit We won't do it now, but maybe let me highlight that and make that subject to the language that we changed in the other one. Basically, that says that they have the ability to fix. I'll try to make it parrot the other one. This parrot is I'm sorry, parrot. This permit is concerning work on city-owned right-of-way or property only. Permittee shall seek approval, but not realizing that they're working in state right-of-way or county right-of-way. Director of Public Works reserves the right to revoke this permit at any time if, in its judgment, it is in the best interest of the city of Franklin do so. That's the language parroted from the county's permit. I liked it. The terms of this permit per Franklin Municipal Code 222-4. Unless otherwise noted, this permit will expire 1 year after approval date. So this special stipulations, these are ones that our staff would depending on what fits, a few of them, but this permit, I'm not asking the Common Council to approve. They have, to my knowledge, they haven't approved any other permit in the city. Permit document. So I don't want to set the precedent that we now have to take all of our permit documents every time we change. I don't want to set the precedent that we now have to take all of our permit documents every time we change them to the Common Council. But I just wanted you to see the big change between the two, and I will show Common Council the difference. But I'm going to make it very clear that these are special stipulations, and we'll so like I got some phrases, special stipulations, and we'll so like I got some phrases we'll use for excavation, phrases we'll use for cable conduit projects, cable we'll use for sewer utility work, and then telecommunications work. So, and then at the end we'll have a permit closeout, and then telecommunications work. So, and then at the end we'll have a permit closeout. So when everything is approved, work appears to be completed satisfactory, not completed, and why, and then we'll sign off on the permit. So that'll give documentation that we're done. So again, I'm going to show this to Common Council. That'll give documentation that we're done. So again, I'm going to show this to Common Council as an example. I'm going to show them what we have now and what we're proposing, but I am in no way asking them to approve this.
To approve the document itself.
Yes.
A question for you.
Yep.
On the document itself, then, you have, the work appears document itself. Then, you have, the work appears to be, completed satisfactory, and release it. The work is not satisfactory, and some of the money is kept, is what you actually have written there.
Yes.
And the
All or
surety is
some, yeah.
kept. All or some of the surety is kept. The
All or
surety is
some, yeah.
kept. All or some of the surety is kept. What you don't have here, and I don't know if it should be here, I'm just going to ask the question, is if you sent back and you said, hey, we have these deficiencies at this point in time that you have, for you to correct, that is not spot. I don't know if it should be. I'm just asking.
I guess in my mind that would be the verbal warning, the email, or those written writings that say, hey, Mr. Webster.
Okay, so that would end up being documentation you attach to this.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? Approval of this document, but I am interested in your comments.
I do have one last comment, if I may.
Go ahead.
Glenn, I still stand by the position that we need to reconsider the money that's held to cover the cost of the permit. If we are going to maintain it, we have to decide how that interest rate is going to be distributed, monthly, daily, yearly. But my bigger issue is that I really think we do need to consider then maybe reducing the thing lower and switching over to a bond quicker. I would maybe recommend taking a look at how much staff time it takes for staff to haul in a bond. Because you're looking at $600.
Time, a significant amount of time to call a bond. Usually it involves the attorney because usually they have attorneys that want to argue about whether we can cash in the bond or not. Then once we do, it's some hours of admin work to call back and forth the bank, and it is a hassle. It is a hassle.
For the staff time. And I'm getting that number from a
By the time you add an attorney's hour or two, yes, probably.
Okay.
I guess I'd like an up or down vote on F about interest rate. On F about interest rate.
Commissioner Porter.
Well, this is merely meant as a question, but would that be something that could be put up and run past the city attorney and get an opinion from him as far as how that could run past the city attorney and get an opinion from him as far as how that could be handled, or how it's customarily handled with a legal firm? Because I know that's something that they do when they're dealing with client funds, and he may have a real simple both verbiage solution and amount solution that would be amicable to all parties. I think just to run it by him wouldn't hurt.
So if I understand correctly, maybe you might be, we'll keep it the full year and pay you back 6%. We are willing to move that to a, if you will, a third party. What do you call that? Where they require
An escrow.
escrow. Thank you. The permittee has the option to move it to an escrow. Is that agreeable with the rest of the group?
Because that's basically what you're doing anyway, is you're putting it in escrow.
Yeah. So, again, I'll wordsmith this. So basically what we're saying is permittee has a right to move the money to escrow. Again, I'll wordsmith that, but is that what your intention is?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Okay. Or they may just say, I'm not going to fool with it, I'll just leave it with the city.
In that case, with that stipulation, I'm not as adamant about having the interest comment in there, because that was a 60-day comment
Right.
also.
So
So what you're saying is that that gives them the option, because does an escrow in this situation, would that be, well, is that just a surety? Escrow in this situation, would that be, well, is that just a surety? It goes to somebody and they hold that money, or is that an interest-bearing
So-
situation?
Like in a
They can deal with it differently then.
Yeah, but interest for the last, how many years has been so doggone low?
It doesn't matter.
The last, how many years has been so doggone low?
It doesn't matter. It
pennies.
amounts to pennies. So,
Right.
in that case, using that language, I'm willing to remove my comment about interest because of it.
So do you like this? So if fees are not refunded within 60 days of notification from the permittee of completion, if fees are not refunded within 60 days of notification from the permittee of completion, permittee has a right to move the money to an interest-bearing escrow, maybe a third party.
A third-party interest-bearing, yeah,
Do they have to name the city as?
bearing, yeah.
Do they have to name the city as partner?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, may I, if you may?
yeah, go ahead.
I would be surprised if the city doesn't already have an account somewhere in the
Someplace for
system.
doing this type of thing.
That's why I was saying refer it past the city opinion, because I got a real strong hunch there's probably an account already established somewhere in the Treasury Department.
I'll contact the city finance director tomorrow
Right.
and get some verbiage for this. But that's the idea, is that
Yeah.
if within 60 days I don't turn it over, like I'm going to keep this for a year because I'm concerned about Kevin's
Right.
road.
Yeah.
And I'll get verbiage from them, but it'll be a third party, so we have to sign off that we're okay before it leaves.
Yep.
Yeah.
That I'm okay with.
And I completely understand your intent.
Yeah.
You know, and the only, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I still think there's a method by which that, I think we may be making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Right.
Not knowing that there already may be a provision within the
City to
finance,
handle it,
yeah, to handle
within
it, so.
finance.
But this
Thank you.
solution will keep us from losing money on the permit.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about anything else?
Inspection fee and re-inspection fees? Being that many times we have to go numerous times to make them do their corrections. Just a thought.
So do you want to add, so if I could put my developer hat on, developers don't like the fact that I get to hire a contractor to go out and inspect it, and they have to keep paying for it. Well, if they just get done and whatever, but I hear enough of those phone calls, I'm not so sure.
Have like a bait go back out more, it's like 25 each time.
What I would say is, if you can help write what justifies a reinspection,
That they don't meet the specs of what we wanted. Like sometimes they'll backfill with a sand material instead of our spec material.
Is there a possibility of it maybe upping some of the base fees to include maybe 2 inspections and then after that start charging them? So if you go out there, do your inspection, tell them that you want a correction, they correct it, and then if they don't correct it, they correct it, and then if they don't correct it, then you have to come back a 3rd time, then start charging them?
That makes sense?
so I don't think anywhere in here I even talk about going out to inspect it. I don't think anywhere in here I even talk about going out to inspect it the first time.
No, I don't remember anything about that.
Tell you what, let me, if you'll give me some faith to inspection.
Let me ask you this question. Some of these changes and so forth, the council and so forth, if it's another month before it gets to the council and you add in a couple of these details, is that killing us?
No, it's not killing us. I can't, I mean, I don't want to say cat's out of the bag, but my current issue is I won't fix it with this because they've got an existing permit. We're not issuing that many permits, but people are starting to get permits for the summer, so it won't kill us. We could hold off another month.
So how about we, at this point, what I would suggest, we have a lot of comments in here that you've been kind of flying in there and typing, and maybe it would be best to have this sent back to wordsmith the areas that you've talked about, talk with the finance about the escrow area, and clean these areas up.
No.
Do the inspection thing, but clean these areas up and bring it back. Inspection thing, but clean these areas up and bring it back next month for approval to move forward.
I could do that. I think we've made significant progress tonight, and I appreciate your time and effort to go through beat by bit. So next
Okay.
month should be a lot quicker.
So what I would ask for at this point is a motion to refer this back to staff for incorporation of comments from the board and bringing it back next month. Is anybody willing to do that?
I'll make that motion.
That's Commissioner Specht. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Okay, so we'll get it in here, but all of those in favor of that motion, aye?
Aye.
Any negatives? Not hearing any negative. That coming back next month with our comments. And I think it'd be good just to, let it sit for a little bit and make sure we got it right. Okay? We'll move on. The auction results, there's an attachment to our information here showing us what we received. We didn't get a lot of money for the tractor tire, but that's probably understandable, wouldn't you say? Overall, I mean, that's a good thing, and it seems reasonable.
Yes, it turned out good.
Informational only is what I'm going to assume
Yes.
that this is. There's
Yes.
nothing else on there. Is there any other comments from the, son of a gun. Hang on. Is there any other comments from, geez, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something stupid. Any other comments from, geez, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing something stupid. Let's try that. That's better. Is there any other comments on this topic from any board member?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on to item C, which is item C, which is the 2022 DPW equipment list. Is that you?
It was on there, but
Is that you?
it was on there, but I didn't put it on there.
Okay.
It wasn't your last
I think what this is my request, and that started in the last month. Okay, that,
Chairman, I'll look at. Chairman, I'll look at.
thank you. Last month, I brought it up during the what do you call it, the public comment period, that I think it would be nice to get some form of a list in front of us, or have available to us when we discuss, so that we have a list of inventory. So if we buy a plow truck, we have a list of inventory, how many plow trucks we have, when they were built, or when they were purchased, and so forth. So, when they were purchased, and so forth, so that we get a lot of we have graders, we have this, we have that, and so my initial thought was just trucks, dump trucks and so forth. I think Commissioner Speck comments for and this is just kind of a thought process that we're trying to, so that the board is aware of what we have, so that when we get new stuff, we're getting understandable. Commissioner Speck, would you want to add to my comment there?
Yeah, maybe we need to consider getting like a one-time PDF or something that can get referenced, because it could be extensive pile of information. But the bigger thing that I thought would be interesting to see is a copy of what was proposed to be purchased that year, and how much, as we've replaced items, excess we have rolling over in case we go over the cost, the budgeted cost for an item, or if we find an opportunity to do a replacement that we can see that we haven't spent a certain portion of money, and we'd all be more comfortable approving it, the additional expenditure. That was, I believe.
How we doing on our capital expense budget for the year, and again, we don't really have a good feel for it, and we're trusting your comments. Mm-hmm. But I think as a board for the city, since we do a lot of approval of the capital expenditures at the end, that we should have that kind of information in front of us. Things that I was hoping to get a hold of, and I'm not sure exactly what all I'm asking for. I don't want to have a list of every vehicle that the DPW owns, but I think the larger ones, the stuff that we have, we have a water, all of the different equipments that we have. I don't know if we need a list of every piece of equipment we have, but we certainly, trucks are something that come up every year. We need to buy another plow truck, we need to buy another plow truck, we need to buy the hydraulics and so forth. I think a generalized list of, of the vehicles. We have truck 927 is this, 928 is that. It was purchased in this, it was obtained in this year. We purchased, in this budget of this year. I'm just, it seems like, after time, we get so many vehicles coming through it seems like, after time, we get so many vehicles coming through this board that I think we need to make sure we're understanding what it is, what all the vehicles are. I think we owe the council that, and I think we owe ourselves that, just to keep track of it. So, it's owe ourselves that, just to keep track of it. So, it's not something that I don't want you to spend, I'm always extremely careful about requesting things that are going to require a lot of time for you guys, because you have a lot of other work to do. But I think this is one case, I think it's, what do you think of the idea? Let me ask that, Kevin.
What I can do, because we keep a running, we call it our vehicle list,
Yes.
and this is anything that's fueled. It's
Okay.
not our hand tools or loop doors.
Yeah,
It's not-
exactly. That's the
it's-
point.
It's equipment, it's vehicles, it's anything that's fueled, and it's anything that has a dedicated, it's what we use to keep track of everything.
Well, and
It's got everything from,
You can understand where we're coming from, because there's, we get the lists that come in, and we get the things that
Yep.
ask, and,
and I appreciate you
think
asking.
I think we should button our, we should close the loop a little bit as much.
Some plates to vehicle model, VIN, description, vehicle weight. I don't know if we need VINs and all that, but we can definitely get you a list of everything we have.
I figured you would have already had this information available. That's why I didn't think I was asking for anything you didn't
No,
already
yeah,
have.
we keep everything.
Like I said,
We keep everything.
like I said, I'm very careful about not asking a lot of extra stuff from staff, because
Yep.
you guys have enough work to do without us piling on with bull crap.
And we have this because we also have to have it for our fuel system, because everything has to be registered as we have to have it for our fuel system, because everything has to be registered as it's each piece in the system.
Commissioner Speck, does that sound like something that's reasonable to you too?
Yeah, as far as the list of equipment, that would work.
All right. I appreciate it, Kevin, and
Yeah, no problem.
that's, I appreciate it, Kevin, and
Yeah, no problem.
that's where it came from. It came from me.
Totally understandable.
Okay. So I'm going to mark that as informational, and we'll hopefully, maybe, if you send that to us, or even have it delivered next month with our packet, that's acceptable, and maybe we can have it on the, maybe you can go through a little bit of it, with us next month, just 5 minutes to say, hey, this is what this means.
Means, yes.
How's that sound?
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Means, yes.
How's that sound?
Perfect.
Thank you, sir. We're going to go to item D, which is the 2022 equipment status for DPW. There is a sheet of paper in here on this, and this,
Yes.
I think that just is, again, a sheet of paper in here on this, and this,
Yes.
I think that just is, again, on the same topic, listing items that we're looking at that are on the capital expenditure for this year, correct?
Correct. These are the items the bigger items that we're looking at for purchase this year.
So, to go right with that comment, is there a total bottom line capital expense number that we have for this year?
It varies, I would have to total them all up. I don't have that exact number
Yeah.
with me,
Okay.
because these come out of
That's-
different capital accounts.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah. The point is that we're given a lot of, I think the council respects and asks us to do a lot, and, we're citizens, and this would help us make sure we're comfortable that we're doing the right we're supposed to be doing.
right.
Okay?
And keep in mind, if we ever, as long as I've been doing this, I've never,
And your predecessors have not, I can remember one or two situations in which they did, and in those situations, they brought it to our attention, and we moved it back to council to make sure that, they gave final approval on the extra amounts.
right,
And,
that's what I would do.
yep. So also, Any other comments from the board on that one? Okay, then we're going to look at some purchase of some new equipment. And for those of you that were online, we have two things in front of us here.
And this is for a bucket truck, which is number 8, I believe, on the list.
Okay.
And I do apologize to Commissioner Speck. I was literally putting this together hours before this meeting, so that's why I couldn't get it on the agenda, or on the packet.
Not a problem, as long as you agree to it.
As long as you don't scare me.
So both of these papers, are associated with that. One is the truck chassis and one is the bucket itself, then the aerial,
Yes.
the aerial bucket. Okay.
Yes. So it's 2 pieces. It's the truck chassis and, like you said, the bucket and box. The bucket and box, that I have a price on in the brochure here. The truck chassis, I literally don't have the quote. The truck chassis, I literally don't have the quote here. My printer ended before I could print it. I have the prices of everything. On the back side of the front page, you'll see the options that I asked the company to give us. The options that I asked the company to give us price on. Those are the ones we are requesting in addition to the price on the front. The front, it shows after the trade-in, $190,650.
Yep.
And we are asking for the options, which total $10,098. And then we are asking for 2 additional items, which is the warranties, which total $8,385. See, is $86,907. So that would grand total of $296,040. And we would be able to take delivery of this unit yet this year, which is,
Yeah, looking at, what's the trade-in? Are we trading in another bucket truck?
we're trading in our 2000 bucket truck.
So, okay,
So it's gonna be, in March, it'll be 22 years old.
wow, okay. And the flavor of the day on truck sliding, because I remember for a long time, we were trying to stay with a particular brand, so you had commonality between spare parts in inventory and stuff like that. And for a long time, we were going with internationals, and I guess we had some bad experience with those.
There needed more and more spare parts.
Bad experience with those?
There needed more and more spare parts.
Yeah, we're unfortunately, we hit a string of bad internationals with some serious engine issues. We're not alone, by no means.
Right.
Many municipalities are. So, by no means.
Right.
Many municipalities are. So, and international is not standing up and backing them. So, we made it our last 3 plow trucks. Now we've gone to Mack, and now this one they're able to supply us a chassis.
Okay.
No, wasn't the patch truck a Freightliner?
The chassis.
Okay.
No, wasn't the patch truck a Freightliner?
The new patch truck we're getting is a Kenworth.
Oh, Kenworth, okay.
Only because I couldn't get another Mack.
All right.
And actually, this Mack chassis is the last one we'll get, probably until 2024, because they're not even taking orders right now. 2024, because they're not even taking orders right now.
Okay.
Is that a supply chain issues
Yes.
that they just simply don't have them?
Right.
They're ordered out or they can't make them?
They're not even accepting orders any longer. And I have a plow truck, as you'll see on our list, in orders any longer. And I have a plow truck, as you'll see on our list there. I have a plow truck in this 22's budget, and I can't even put an order in for it.
Okay.
Go past Silver Ford, you don't see a new truck in our front lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't buy a truck.
no, you can't. I understand. So what we're looking at here is then okay, is there anything on here that we are, okay, you've shown us everything you got on here, you've got all of the terms, you've got the, your for everything is sitting out here. Who is the distributor of the MAC? Crete?
Crete, yes.
Is that, where are they located?
Oh, we deal with the Racine office.
Racine office?
T-Rex, yeah.
T-Rex, out of Watertown,
Yes.
and that's the,
Well, that's their headquarters in South Dakota.
South
Watertown.
Dakota.
Their
South Dakota.
local office is in Waukesha.
okay, and so, yeah, so the local office is, that's where I'm referring to for this, is in Waukesha. Right, but it's.
The chassis will be drop shipped, they'll build it, and they'll freight it over.
Right, but, so we get the chassis, then it goes to T-Rex, and then they put it together, and then we get it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if I've got this correct, name or number that we're talking about here, I've got a quote number here, Cree 2021-00712D879. I'm going to use that.
The model, if you want the model,
We're going to start with. And then I'm going to call I'm trying to do this so I can formulate a motion for everybody to follow.
okay.
Okay? Okay. And the T-Rex, okay, that would be the, what's a good term? Go ahead, Chuck.
Well, I got one quick question. For a long time, weren't we customarily using local upfitters for the installation of some of the accessory equipment, like the bucket stuff, or,
This company here is T-Rex. They used to put them together in Waukesha,
okay,
but now they put everything together in South Dakota and ship it out. They're
Okay.
all being bought out by each other, and it's just a mess.
okay. Because I know we were using braking equipment for some stuff,
Mess.
okay. Because I know we were using braking equipment for some stuff, where the equipment would come in and then they'd install it on the truck. So, but that's not done so much anymore, or?
We use braking equipment for the plow trucks, 1 tons. We use Caspers for that also. There's only 2 companies for bucket. There's only 2 companies for bucket trucks right now. There's T-Rex and Utility. And Utility said they can't even. They're not even able
Okay.
to put us a truck together. So
All right, great, thank you.
Okay, what's the length of the warranty, the 8385?
it's actually 3 warranties. It's a chassis warranty. It's a engine and aftermarket warranty, and it's a body and aerial warranty, and they're all 3 years.
They're all 3 years. Great. So I'm going to do my best, okay? Commissioner Speck, I haven't been looking for a hand. Are you good? Do you have any questions? You got your hand, you're good. All right. Commissioner Witt, how about yourself? You're good? Okay, so what we're looking at here is a motion to MAC chassis from quote number KRIE 2021-0007-12D879 plus a aerial bucket created, okay, well, let me, before I go on that, from Crete Truck Centers delivered from Racine, plus the Terex aerial bucket as described in the quote, is there a quote number on this?
Yeah, our top right in the center.
Top
2 lines
center.
down.
Gotcha. Quote number QU17520, unit TL60, for a total price not to exceed $2. for a total price not to exceed $296,040.
Yes, correct.
And Terex, locally out of the Waukesha office?
Yes, correct.
Locally, the Waukesha office.
Yes, correct.
Locally, the Waukesha office. Okay, and Glenn, hopefully that got good on there, because I didn't write it down, but I'll put it on here as best I can. Okay?
Being recorded.
Good.
Hopefully.
Okay?
Being recorded.
Good.
Hopefully.
Is there someone who would like to make that motion as I presented it?
I will.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. I do have one more question. Motion?
I'll second.
Okay. I do have one more question that I need to ask, which I did not get asked previously, and that is, Kevin, do you, where does this land in our capital budget as compared to what was budgeted?
In the budget, I originally had projected this truck to be 275, which is now obviously more than that. But another piece of equipment that I'm going to be coming in with next month for the grade haul, I originally had projected at 440, and we're going to come in under that, enough to make up for this.
Okay. On our previous item, could you please bring in those numbers for us, and
Yep.
the over and the unders, and adding them out for us, so that, and as we purchase stuff during the year, that would be really great to have those numbers in front of us. Okay?
Yes.
I appreciate it. Again, not trying to ask for too much. All of those, any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, all of those in favor, aye?
Aye.
And Commissioner Nelson has left, so this, I will go through this as, I'm not going to ask for votes. The people that are left in the meeting right now are Chairman Webb, and all have voted aye, so that motion will pass. Okay, we're going to move on to our next scheduled meeting will be, I got September 14th on here because this is an old date because I didn't update it. What's the date in February? February 8th. So our next scheduled meeting will be February 8th. And then we are looking, it is 7:44. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Becky? Commissioner Specht, is there a second? Commissioner Porter, all of those in favor? Aye? Aye. And we are